Now, this video is not by Sabrina Wallace, but it is one that she did recommend, and the person who made this video is absolutely amazing. You'll be able to see a tag in the video for links to more of her content. I've taken her video, I've beefed it up and condensed it. I really think there's a lot of amazing things in here for you. Please sit back, watch this, it's worth it, and please share it when you're done.
So let's get straight into what makes everything possible in the universe: frequencies.
Something surrounds you, bombards you, some of which you can't see, touch, or even feel. Every day, everywhere you go. It is odorless and tasteless, yet you use it and depend on it every hour of every day. Without it, the world you know could not exist. What is it? Electromagnetic radiation. These waves spread across a spectrum from very short gamma rays to X-rays, ultraviolet rays, visible light waves, even longer infrared waves, microwaves, to radio waves which can measure longer than a mountain range. This spectrum is the foundation of the information age and of our modern world. Your radio, remote control, text message, television, microwave oven, even a doctor's X-ray, all depend on waves within the electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic waves, or EM waves, are similar to ocean waves in that both are energy waves. They transmit energy. EM waves are produced by the vibration of charged particles and have electrical and magnetic properties. But unlike ocean waves that require water, EM waves travel through the vacuum of space at the constant speed of light. EM waves have crests and troughs like ocean waves. The distance between crests is the wavelength. While some EM wavelengths are very long and are measured in meters, many are tiny and are measured in billionths of a meter, nanometers. The number of these crests that pass a given point within 1 second is described as the frequency of the wave. One wave, or cycle, per second is called a hertz. Long EM waves, such as radio waves, have the lowest frequency and carry less energy. Adding energy increases the frequency of the wave and makes the wavelength shorter. Gamma rays are the shortest, highest energy waves in the spectrum. So, as you sit watching TV, not only are there visible light waves from the TV striking your eyes, but also radio waves transmitting from a nearby station, and microwaves carrying cell phone calls and text messages, and waves from your neighbor's Wi-Fi, and GPS units in the cars driving by. There is a chaos of waves from all across the spectrum passing through your room right now. With all these waves around you, how can you possibly watch your TV show? Similar to tuning a radio to a specific radio station, our eyes are tuned to a specific region of the EM spectrum and can detect energy with wavelengths from 400 to 700 nanometers, the visible light region of the spectrum. Objects appear to have color because EM waves interact with their molecules. Some wavelengths in the visible spectrum are reflected, and other wavelengths are absorbed. This leaf looks green because EM waves interact with the chlorophyll molecules. Waves between 492 and 577 nanometers in length are reflected, and our eye interprets this as the leaf being green. Our eyes see the leaf as green, but cannot tell us anything about how the leaf reflects ultraviolet, microwave, or infrared waves. To learn more about the world around us, scientists and engineers have devised ways to enable us to see beyond that sliver of the EM spectrum called visible light. Data from multiple wavelengths help scientists study all kinds of amazing phenomena on Earth, from seasonal change to specific habitats. Everything around us emits, reflects, and absorbs EM radiation differently based on its composition. A graph showing these interactions across a region of the EM spectrum is called a spectral signature. Characteristic patterns, like fingerprints within the spectra, allow astronomers to identify an object's chemical composition and to determine such physical properties as temperature and density. NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope observed the presence of water and organic molecules in a galaxy 3.2 billion light-years away. Viewing our Sun in multiple wavelengths with the SOHO satellite allows scientists to study and understand sunspots that are associated with solar flares and eruptions harmful to satellites, astronauts, and communications here on Earth. We are constantly learning more about our world and universe by taking advantage of the unique information contained in the different waves across the EM spectrum.
What they did is they had a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, like, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
So now we've got a understanding about frequencies and how they carry data. We're going to look at that in the context of computer science and networking. And just bear in mind, one of the things that you just mentioned there was, and when they're looking out into space, apparently, if they are, who knows, but from the frequency spectrum, they're able to dissect exactly what the chemical composition is because of the frequency that's being given off, which will give us more insight as we move forward through. So what we've got here is the wireless area body network application and technologies, which is the whole reason why we're doing this presentation. So, but to understand this, we're going to get a baseline understanding of how it works and how it functions. So the increasing use of wireless networks and constant miniaturization of electrical invasive and non-invasive devices have powered the development of wireless body area networks, W-bands. A W-band provides a continuous health monitoring of a patient without any constraints to his or her normal daily life activities. Many technologies have proved their efficiency in supporting W-bands requirements. Due to the numerous available technologies, which we'll take a look at soon, selecting the appropriate technology for a medical application is being a challenging task. This paper looks at the different medical applications that are represented, the most common technologies used in W-bands, and they're all highlighted. I'll put a link to this paper. I'm not going to go into it, but this is the reason this particular network and below this network is something that not many people are aware of, and it can be used for good. But if it's there, it's got two sides to every single coin, and we should be at least aware that it is there. So let's have a look at computer networking. So on the screen is a depiction of the computer network layers, which helps with the visualization. But I want to tell you a story format to assist in a deeper understanding. So although you might not think that your understanding of computer networking will serve you, we are moving into a digital age after all, and we should all be armed with knowledge to make conscious and sentient choices. So computer network architecture is like a system of roads for information. Imagine your computer as a house, and you want to send a message or share something with your friend's computer in a different house. The network architecture is the blueprint for how these houses or computers are connected. So we've got the hardware layer. So you could think of that as the wires and the devices like the routers and the switches, and they could be classed as the roads or the intersections. So they help your message travel from your house to your friend's house. Then we've got the software. So this is like the traffic rules or the rules of the road. And it makes sure that your message follows the right path and doesn't get lost or end up in an accident and crashes. And then we've got protocols. So protocols are like the language that your computer speaks to communicate. It's the set of rules that they follow to understand each other. And then we've got the internet. So imagine the entire network like a giant city with houses, computers, roads, wires, and devices all over the world. The internet is the biggest city of them all. So network architecture is the plan that makes sure that your message can travel from your computer to your friend's computer, even if they're far away, by using the roads, which would be the hardware, following the rules, which is the software, and speaking the same language or protocols in the vast city of the internet. So the history of where this began was through the Department of Defense, the US Air Force in the 1950s. And they had a project called SAGE, Semi-Automatic Ground Environment. And this was their radar defense system. And it was basically an enormous network of dedicated phone lines, telephones, and modems that linked all of the sites together. I'm not going to get too much into it, but you can do your research from there. But what I do want to do is break it down layer by layer and just make note of where we've got up at the top, which is the WAN. That's the Wide Area Network, which is this here, basically, the early beginnings. And then we've moved down and down and down to the smaller scale, but we're not aware of all of the smaller scales. So let's find out about them. So the Wide Area Network textbook definition is a computer network which spans regions, countries, or even the world, as we've just found out. Then we've got the radio access network, and that's part of the mobile telecommunication system implementing radio access technology. And conceptually, that resides between a device such as a mobile phone, a computer, or any remotely controlled machine, and provides connection with its core network. So depending on the standard, the mobile phone and other wireless connected devices, they're varying known as user equipment. So then we come down a little bit further into a smaller space, and we've got the metropolitan area network, and that's the computer network that interconnects users with computer resources in a geographic region. So it might be, say, for example, the Northeast England, the Northwest England, or so on and so forth. The term MAN is applied to the interconnection of a local area network in the city into a single layer network, which is then also offers efficient connection to a wide area network. So basically the LAN is working with the CAN and the MAN, and it's pushing it up. So it's kind of like jumping from each one, if that makes sense. So then we've got the campus area network, and that's more in your local, that's interconnected with the local area. Obviously it's just the one above the local area, and that's within a limited geographical area. So that would be your smaller towns. So your likes of your Liverpools, your Manchesters, your Londons, all of those things. And then they're like optical fiber and copper plant cabling and those types of things. So that's what you see, the boxes on the side of the roads, that's the campus area network. Then you've got your local area network, which is local to you, and that interconnects with computers in a limited area, such as within your home, within the school, within the laboratory, university environment, or like an airport or a shopping center that would work on a local area network. Then we've got the personal area network, which is every device which is attached to you in the realm of data. So your mobile device, your iPod, your laptops, your TV, your fridge, whatever smart device you've got that's in your name, because we register everything nowadays, that's your personal area network. So a PAN may be wireless or carried over a wide interface. So it could be a laptop, which is plugged in, or it could be your wireless mobile phone. So then we move down to the body area network. And this is also referred to as a wireless body area network. So this is not wired now. This is not in the hospital wired up to things. This is wireless. And basically it's a network of sensors, or medical body area network also uses this body area network. So it's a network of wearable computing devices. So body area network devices may be embedded inside the body, or as implants or pills, or they may possibly just be wearables such as your smartwatch or your pedometer and things like that.
I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this,
you guys see it?
This pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When you swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte, and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true. Okay?
Okay, but...
Okay, so wait. So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like...
This is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus. And they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And then what happens? Does your heart beat change? Does your...
We can just tell that you've taken the pill. I mean, the medical application...
Does Google now know everything I do and everywhere I go? Because, let's face it, we like you guys, but you're from Google.
Just give him some water and let him take that pill right now.
Thanks.
Maybe Dennis, let me ask you, does Larry make you take one of these?
It's optional. So we actually have demoed this working and authenticating a phone.
Made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right?
Sure.
They would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits.
So yes, this is real. This was invented in 2014, and is now an actual product with Abilify. The company Proteus went bankrupt, and they were worth an estimated $1.7 billion.
So they sit within your body area network. Then we come down to the nano network. And so the nano network, or the nanoscale network, is a set of interconnected nano machine devices, a few hundred nanometers or a few hundred micrometers in most size. When they're able to perform only very simple tasks. And if we look like the size of the nano, in comparison, the circle to the size of the one up at the top, you can see like it's only capable, because it's in that shortwave bandwidth, it's only going to be able to send its data a certain way. It can't get all the way to the other side. So it jumps off one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, and they move up. And that's how it kind of works. So nano networks are expected to expand the capabilities of single nano machines, both in terms of complexity and the range of operation, by allowing them to coordinate, share, and fuse information. Nano networks enable new applications of nanotechnology in the biomedical field, and also environmental research, military technology, and industrial and consumer. So nano's been out for a long time now.
What has gone from the drawing board to the reality is this: the use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such, the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely.
A group of scientists say we are closer than ever to creating technology which can emerge with human biology in order to access the cloud in real time. Confused? Well, RT's Rachel Blevins is here and has all the details.
Can you imagine technology that is so advanced it could provide you with instant access to the world's knowledge and artificial intelligence as soon as you think of a specific topic? According to a group of scientists, neural nano robotics may be developed to enable a safe, secure, instantaneous, real-time interface between the human brain and both biological and non-biological computing systems. This level of technology could include brain-to-brain interfaces, brain-to-computer interfaces, and specifically brain-to-cloud interfaces. Technology linking the brain to the cloud could drastically alter the state of communications between humans and machines. So in order for this to become possible, the study noted that data transfer between living human brains and the cloud would likely require the use of supercomputers with artificial intelligence algorithms. While they say that there are supercomputers with processing speeds fast enough to handle the necessary volumes of data right now, they still have to create tiny devices that would be embedded deep in the brain.
I can create small robotic units, controllable robotic units at the nanoscale, and that these too can be aerosolized. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely.
The senior author of the study noted that once inside the brain, the devices would then wirelessly transmit encoded information to and from a cloud-based supercomputer network for real-time brain state monitoring and data extraction. Such a breakthrough in technology has the power to transform communications, education, work, and the world as we know it. But with the requirement of tiny devices being inserted into your brain in order to access the cloud, it remains to be seen just how many people will be willing to participate.
This is a very touchy area, but the disruptive effect can be huge. It can target key individuals and influence in ways that are kinetic and non-kinetic the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, activities, and relative vulnerabilities and predispositions of those individuals for whom may threaten us. It used to be that I need to be exceedingly close to someone to now influence them with a weapon, and now what we see is we create both distal potential as well as much more capable potential to affect them in a variety of different ways.
There's much conjecture that's arisen around the voodoo field of the aura. Some say that it must be a New Age demon type person if you believe in such fanciful ideologies. But clearly the network is using it, and what do we know about it? Does it exist, or is it just scientific fact or fiction? So the human biofield, also referred to as the bioenergetic field, or simply put, the human energy field, is a concept that's rooted in the idea that living organisms, including humans, emit and interact with various forms of energy. So while this concept is not universally accepted in the mainstream science, it does have a history and it is utilized in certain medical contexts. So therefore it must exist. We're using it in the medical field. So it must exist, particularly in the field of bioelectromagnetism. So the history of this is that the idea of the human biofield has got its ancient roots with traditional healing practices like acupuncture, Ayurveda, Reiki, being based on the belief that the body has got an energy system that can be influenced for healing. In modern medicine, this concept gained attention with the development of techniques such as the EEG, the EKG, and also the MEG. So that's just some examples in modern medicine. So essentially, organisms produce a uniform bioelectric field proportionate to their size, which registers fluctuations in its environment via binary shifts in electrostatic charge. So we've got data and frequency popping up again there. And on this slide as well, we've just got some pictures of Kirlian photography in the biofield. And this is kind of the topology of the part of our electrical network system in the body, really. This has all come from medical journals. So we can see that there's a body part that's essentially been hidden from us that we've not known about for such a long time. So with that in mind, now what I would like to do, now we kind of understand the network, the area network and the body area network, I want to explain the topology of it. So the topology is how the nodes link together within those wide area networks, radio access networks, things like that. So in mathematics, topology is from the Greek word tomic, don't know if I'm saying that correctly, which means place or location and study. So you can see in the pictures behind, there's places and locations, and if you study them, you'll be able to get yourself a coherent network. So topology in computer science is like the way people are arranged in a room, so to speak. It's about how computers are connected to each other in a network. Think of it as the pattern or the shape of the connections. And we'll go through very quickly just some of the topologies. So this is a very simple bus topology where you can see the data flows going one way, but if one of the systems was to break down, then the whole thing's break down. Then we've got the star topology where it was kind of like one-to-many devices. And again, if that one device breaks down, all of them break down. So we've got the dual ring topology. If one of them breaks down, we're all going to break down. So we moved over to the mesh topology. Now mesh requires very, very high saturation of lots of these nodes to be all over the place. So let's think about your repeaters on the side of the lamppost, the 5G everywhere, all of those types of things, they would fit within the mesh network. So you can see in mesh network, if the computer, if one of the computers, one of the screen computers was to break down, it wouldn't affect the rest of the network because they're all interconnected via the mesh. There's also standards which these come under, and some standards that I would make mention of particularly that are very worthwhile noting down and looking into is the IEEE 802.15.4, which is the wireless personal area network. That will give you some understanding of what frequencies are being emitted and passed through. And then also the IEEE 802.15.6. So this is, again, same thing, but explaining the real-time health monitoring of consumer electronics applications. This is the latest international standard for WBAN, which aims to provide an international standard for low power, short range, and extremely reliable wireless communications within the surrounding. So just think of that low power, short range, and think of nano. So basically reliable wireless communications within a surrounding area of the human body, supporting a vast range of data rates for different applications. Short range wireless communications in the vicinity of or inside a human body, but not limited to humans because it could be in food and water and air, who knows. These are all specific to this standard. So there's also topology, which is within biology as well. Topology comes into everything in life as frequency does. So that's being used to study the various biological systems, including molecules and nanostructure, such as your membranous objects. In particular, circuit topology and knot theory have been extensively applied to classify and compare the topology of folded proteins and nucleic acids. Circuit topology classifies the folded molecular chains based on the pairwise arrangements of their interchain contacts and the chain crossings. So I won't go into it too much, but you can see that there's quite a pattern in frequencies and topology, let's say.
I just wanted to say, think about this topography like this. Think about how our biofield interacts with plants and everything around. They take this data, feed it into AI, and AI comes up with the most impossible, crazy ways to predict what we're going to do, to figure out how to interface with the human body via this biofield and other aspects that they don't tell us that is going on. They don't teach us that in school for a reason, because they're operating on this whole other level where they can do all of these things, for instance, with the biofield, and they can actually target people from their specific biofield resonance. And this, I thought this was crazy for the longest time, but you can look up targeted individuals. There's actually a couple documentaries on vtvault.org/danger. Go to that site, check it out, scroll down, you'll find a couple videos on targeted individuals. And I honestly didn't believe it at first, but now all the science is here and it makes sense.
Let's have a look at some of the agendas that we've got. There's going to be a video coming up, video 2 in a minute, where we've got our old mate Boris the Big Johnson explaining what the agendas are. So agendas: sustainable development, climate change action, global health resilience, peace and conflict resolution, inclusive economic growth, gender equity, digital inclusion, biodiversity, so on and so forth. They all sound like really, really good things. It sounds great. I mean, first, human rights should be number 1, especially when you're looking at biodigital convergence. But anyway, it's number 10 on the list. So let's have a look at this video if we can, Ro, if you can make that available, please.
You may keep your secrets from your friends, from your parents, your children, your doctor, even your personal trainer. But it takes real effort to conceal your thoughts from Google. And if that is true today, in future, there may be nowhere to hide. Smart cities will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the Internet of Things. Bollards communing invisibly with lampposts, so there is always a parking space for your electric car, so that no bin goes unemptied, no street unswept, and the urban environment is as antiseptic as a Zurich pharmacy. But this technology could also be used to keep every citizen under round-the-clock surveillance. A future Alexa will pretend to take orders, but this Alexa will be watching you, clucking her tongue and stamping her foot. In future, voice connectivity will be in every room and almost every object. Your mattress will monitor your nightmares, your fridge will beep for more cheese, your front door will sweep wide the moment you approach like some silent butler. Your smart meter will go hustling of its own accord for the cheapest electricity, and every one of them minutely transcribing your every habit in tiny electronic shorthand, stored not in their chips or in their innards, nowhere you can find it, but in some great cloud of data that lowers ever more oppressively over the human race. A giant dark thundercloud waiting to burst, and we have no control over how or when the precipitation will take place. And every day that we tap on our phones or work on our iPads, as I see some of you are doing now, we not only leave our indelible spoor in the ether, but we are ourselves becoming a resource, click by click, tap by tap.
So that was the United Nations General Assembly. That was the former Prime Minister, obviously. We've all seen him before. And this is from the European Union, funded by the European Union. And this is called Graphene Flagship Technology and Innovation Roadmap. So up at the top, we've got 2023 and before. And then we've got 2023 to 2029 and 2030 and beyond. So what have we got in 2023 and before? Functional coatings and surface modifications, cool. Structural materials, cool. Fast charging batteries and advanced photovoltaics. We also have biosensors and things like that as well. So that, what are the biosensors for? Obviously, low cost printable electronics.
It may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents.
Also within the 2023 place as well would be neural interfaces.
March 16th, 2018. The U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines.
We know that DARPA is exploring human-machine interfaces that include direct connections between the brain and outside systems. That's been from the beginning of DARPA's information technology mission, and it continues to this day. DARPA has created some of the most influential technologies of all time, things that we use and take for granted every day, including the project that became the internet. They've created self-driving cars, stealth technology, GPS that fits in your pocket. That's DARPA's specialty, to imagine the future and create it.
A new technology that is actually very much on the verge of being a reality that is being fielded is we could have a sensor maybe on the surface of our head, or maybe implanted somewhere in our body, in our brain or something, that allows us to interact directly with our communications gear, our processing gear, our weapon systems, and so on. But now imagine we take that technology and we can control robots at a distance with it. Even fly drones. You put this sensor on and you think the right way, and you can increase the speed of the fan by thinking and controlling that thought with direct-to-mind or mind-machine interfacing. With that type of capability, you could control all sorts of buttons and mechanisms in equipment.
Mind-machine interfaces will have many applications in both civilian and military life. But there are those who believe that this same technology could also be used by DARPA as a new form of mind control. Like their counterparts at the CIA, DARPA-funded researchers have spent decades investigating how the human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
There are explicit programs of DARPA to read and write to human brains, whether it's through direct implants within the brain or wearing some kind of cap. So these things are being worked on, and we know that.
So what's the next step? Maybe the next step is we can send instructions and information to an actual person from a distance with this kind of technology to let another person control their actions. But that could be something that could be malicious.
If there's some way to do it from a distance, a much greater distance than something that you can wear on your scalp, that would be the ultimate technological achievement that would fall into this realm of mind control and direct human-machine interface that DARPA may well want to keep secret.
In the near future, DARPA may possess the technology to remotely control the human mind. But as concerning as that may be, according to some scientists, a more permanent kind of mind control technology is looming. And it involves modifying the human brain by altering the human body's DNA.
The future of mind control, and the future being right now because these experiments are being done, is using gene editing tools. And one of them would be CRISPR. The way it works is take the CRISPR, which are these short alternating repeats of DNA. You put that together with an enzyme called Cas. And so you take the CRISPR that you want to use, and you put these pieces together that can be injected and insert this DNA to certain areas of the brain so that we can change brain cells and turn you into something you wouldn't otherwise be. So in this way, gene editing technologies like CRISPR really form a definite basis for future mind control.
These are things that DARPA has investigated. Every technology has the potential for good or evil, and who defines what's good and what's evil, and who uses it for what purpose. These are all questions that have been asked about everything from rockets to self-driving vehicles. We still don't have a good handle on the ethics of various technologies that we use. The technologists tend not to be so concerned with the ethics. That seems to be the domain of other people, policymakers, for example, academics, people like this. There needs to be a hand-in-hand interaction with people creating technology and those who are considering the ethics of that technology.
Which was in the 2023 to 2029 agenda. And then beyond that, we've got drug delivery and we've got bioelectronic medicine, high-frequency devices, 6G and beyond wireless networks. So quite a bit to look forward to, unless we decide to tell them that we're not interested and we're not buying what you're selling. So another agenda that we've all heard about is the smart city. It's sold beautifully. A smart city is a technologically modern urban area that uses different types of electronic methods and sensors to collect specific data. The information gained from that data is used to manage assets, resources, and serviced efficiently. So just like Boris said, no bin will go unemptied. It sounds lovely. It'll be like more sterile than a Zurich lab. So why don't we have a look at the technological advances and see where we're tracking for all of this progress. So if I was to ask you guys now, what do you think our most technological advance would be? I could probably guarantee that the majority of you would say artificial intelligence. So I went to artificial intelligence and I asked it what it thought. I asked it to tell me in a concise way the milestones of the recent tech discovery and the implementation. So number one was artificial intelligence, machine learning. They're now deeply embedded in various industries from healthcare to finance and transportation and entertainment, improving efficiency and decision-making. 5G networks, and we are going to go through some of these as well. 5G networks, obviously connectivities that are expanding, enable a faster data transfer with low latency, vital for the Internet of Things and autonomous vehicles and augmented reality, because I'm sure we all want to escape reality, but I don't want to go into an augmented reality. So the quantum computing, that's another progress which they've made. CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing, blockchain and cryptocurrency, and health tech advantages. So let's have a look. Now we've got kind of an understanding, just because we're getting to the nanoscale, we kind of need to look at what binary versus quantum is. So we've got an understanding of computer architecture now and how that all works. So your classical computers work on what's called a binary language, which is a series of zeros and ones, basically, and where it's kind of an on or an off or a yes or a no type scenario. Whereas a quantum bit is basically working with universal law, the universal law that we're not taught. So that's working with every single which scenario and every single frequency that's available to it. So it can be in a state of superposition. So it doesn't have to have a 0 or 1. It could have many. So whilst we're looking at nano and we're looking at computer networking, it would be rude not to take a look at graphene-based frequency selection strategies for graphene-based nano communication networks. So we've already seen what the nano communication network is and what it includes. It's intra-body devices. So let's say at the bottom of the screen, and where you to the right, where you've got the nano device and the micro device. The nano device is obviously the embedded device, and the micro device would then be another device which is attached to it in the personal area network, such as a mobile phone or smartphone, or even an LED light, would you believe?
What's even more concerning is that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on March 26, 2020, applied for a patent number 060606, to take that biometric data, give you a barcode, and connect each of us to cryptocurrency, so that we would become literally slaves to the system. Like everything, it would be the end of privacy, the end of freedom, because who gets the data? Who uses the data? And what do they do with it?
So then let's have a look if they can do this and what are they using. So they're using something called metal organic frameworks, graphene quantum dot nanoparticles, and they're currently using those for cancer patients, which is great. I love the fact that they're trying to cure cancer with it. I think the industry is so large and so profitable that it's never going to happen, unfortunately. But anyway, there's lots of research and funding that goes into this area. So there's a few different compounds which I've been looking at called metal organic frameworks, covalent organic frameworks, and zeolitic imidazolate frameworks, which are very interesting to me. And also I would advise everyone to go and look at buckyballs and quantum dots and things like that. I won't go too far into it. But what would you know? They're using MOFs for quantum computing. Wow, who would have thought it? So this is all through topology and networking. So you can see the topology in front of your eyes there. Obviously it's a visualization because it's on the nano scale. So researchers have developed a way to build a 2D lattice of molecular spin qubits, quantum bits of information with control over qubit orientation and localization. So we can see here, this is a 2D MOF, a 2D metal organic framework. Ro, if you wouldn't mind playing the Tesla phoresis video for me, please.
Now what you're seeing is literally graphene nanotubes self-assembling because of the current that's in the liquid. The current, the frequency, triggers them to assemble and allows the electricity to travel through. You have to watch the documentary Died Suddenly because you can see the nanoparticles here accumulating and connecting. What if that's what's happening in the documentary Died Suddenly, showing all the weird growths inside people's veins? Just wanted to mention that.
A lot of the substances that I'm seeing are stuff that looks pretty much, it's this white fibrous stuff. Now, instead of calling them blood clots, I try to refer to them as white fibrous clots or white fibrous structures. How come all of a sudden these things are happening in so many people?
Pulled this out and he kind of grabbed the end with the tweezers, and this comes out in one piece, one elastic piece. It looks like calamari.
Longest one that I have on video is probably almost 3 foot long.
I haven't seen clots like these long, white, fibrous, different, not blood clots, but they're clotting the blood, so therefore you have to call it a clot.
I have been in this profession actually for approximately 12 years and approximately 2 to 250 bodies per year, and I have never seen anything like this until the vaccination.
The fiber mass clots had been fed by blood clots at the ends that were integrated into the fiber mass clots. The fiber mass clots themselves were not blood clots. On average, I would embalm a body every day or two. Every single body had them, and they were massive.
So you can see here that it's self-assembling. Everything's moving towards this framework in the middle. Another thing to bear in mind with this as well is it's only using what it's taken inside, what it was delivered with. Other than that, it's using the minerals in your body. It's using your electricity. It's using your electrolytes. It's using your minerals to take the calcium or whatever it is that it requires to create the topology that it's been programmed to self-assemble into. Thanks for that, Ro. You can see the quantum dots coming to light, lighting up there. So you can imagine if you're bathed in a soup of frequency and there's these nanomaterials in the environment, this is what the nanomaterials are doing. A mask is not going to save you from nanomaterials, unfortunately. I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but I'm just saying this is not allowed to continue and it's not allowed to happen.
The Fifth Column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. The objects they found in the vaccine correspond with known items in the scientific record, and the conclusion they come to seems quite clear, that the well-documented scientific goal to use nanotechnology in living human beings to form networks capable of controlling several nanomachines is currently being deployed in the COVID-19 vaccines, which amounts to the most intrusive assault against humanity in all of recorded history. While the media and government lie and cover for Big Pharma, the official ingredients are still unknown. But we have thousands of brilliant scientists worldwide studying these experimental vaccines. Some have died in highly suspicious ways, but most have been able to share their findings. And the work shows us that graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a one-atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it. And the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. Graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimental vaccines, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process. Perhaps that is what the mad scientists and psychopaths are after. Human genetics that can withstand this new invasive and deadly nanotech. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
So the next slide is about photonic crystals and photonic crystal lasers, and they're here to save the day for the fourth industrial revolution. So it appears that these metamaterials that we've been looking at are so wondrous that they're basically going to be the digital backbone of many things moving forward, including self-driving cars, if your credit score obliges travel within your 15-minute city, self-driving agricultural machinery, so we can give those farmers a break permanently, and medical care applications. There'll be no need to visit the doctor ever again because the telehealth drone will just be able to fly over your house and put the frequencies in. There's measuring applications via LiDAR for weather. You can see those frequencies yourself up there. And there's my favorite convenience of them all, the imaging applications for entertainment. So for if you need to take a meta holiday or just Project Blue Beam needs to go down, then they've got your back covered. So these are similar things. Again, these are all scientific journals. This is a lot of money and funding going into these. These are light-driven molecular motors embedded in covalent organic frameworks. They're a 3D topological material that reacts in the light frequency. Ro, could you please play the video on the LED technology, please?
They do have a little bit of a blue purplish tint to them. As we mentioned, they're not supposed to be like this, so we reached out to Duke Energy and they explained what is happening. Google search claims purple LEDs are good for the skin, but why should that matter when you're driving?
No clue. It's just really strange.
So now we're going to take a look into DNA coding. So Ro, if you wouldn't mind, please playing the mRNA vaccines video.
Is injected into your arm, we now know that only 25% of it actually stays in your arm. And the other 75% is literally collected by your lymphatic system and fed into your circulation. So these little packages of messenger RNA, and by the way, in a single dose of a Moderna vaccine, there are 40 trillion messenger RNA molecules, 40 trillion that are injected into your arm. So 3/4 of these are taken, connected by the lymphatics. They go into your bloodstream in these little packages that are designed to be absorbed into a cell. But obviously when something's in your circulation, the only cells that they're going to get absorbed into is the cells around your blood vessels. And the place where absorption happens is in the capillary networks. In other words, these are the tiniest vessels where the blood slows right down. These are tiny, tiny vessels. So these little packages of genes are absorbed into the cells around the blood vessels, that's the vascular endothelium. The packages open, the genes are released, your body then gets to work reading these genes and manufacturing trillions and trillions of COVID spike proteins. Because even though you get 40 trillion genes, each gene can produce many, many COVID spike proteins. So, and the purpose of the spike proteins is that your body recognizes this as a foreign protein and will make antibodies against it so that you're then protected against COVID. That's the idea. But here's where the problem comes. In a virus, in a coronavirus, that spike protein becomes part of the viral capsule. In other words, it's part of like the cell wall around the virus called the viral capsule. But it's not in a virus, it's in your cells. So it therefore becomes part of the cell wall of your vascular endothelium, which means that these cells that line your blood vessels, which are supposed to be smooth so that your blood flows smoothly, now have these little spiky bits sticking out. So it is absolutely inevitable that blood clots will form because your blood platelets circulate around in your vessels. And the purpose of blood platelets is to detect a damaged vessel and block that vessel to stop bleeding. So when the platelet comes through the capillary, it suddenly hits all these little COVID spikes that are jutting into the inside of the vessel. It is absolutely inevitable that a blood clot will form to block that vessel. That's how platelets work. So just as is absolutely predicted to cause cancer because it's full of carcinogens, these spike proteins will predictably cause blood clots because of they're in your blood vessels. It is guaranteed. So Dr. Bogdi then said to me, the way to prove this is we need to do a blood test called a D-dimer test to find out if this is really happening. So, because the problem with the blood clots that we hear about through the media that they claim are very rare are the big blood clots. These are the ones that cause strokes and heart clots in your brain. Those are the ones that show up on CT scans and CT angiograms and MRIs. The clots I'm talking about are microscopic. These are tiny, they're literally on a capillary level, and they are scattered throughout your capillary network. So they are not going to show on any scan, they're just too small and too scattered.
Captured some blood that looked dirty. It's clouding it up, but see, I wanted you to see the specks that are floating around. Here we go.
It looks like rust.
It does.
So the only way to find out for sure if this predictable mechanism of clotting was actually happening was to do this blood test called a D-dimer. And so the D-dimer is a blood test that shows a recent blood clot. It doesn't show anything else other than a recent blood clot. It won't show an old blood clot, it only shows new blood clots. And so I have been now doing that on my patients, finding people who have recently had their COVID shot within the previous 7 days, it needs to be between 4 and 7 days, and doing a blood test on them called a D-dimer. And so I'm still trying to accumulate more information, but on the ones I have so far, 62% of them have evidence of clotting, which means that these blood clots are not rare. It means that the majority of people are getting blood clots that they have no idea that they're even having. So, Laura Lynn, the most alarming thing about this is that there are some parts of your body, like your heart and your brain and your spinal cord and your lungs, which cannot regenerate. When those tissues are damaged by blocked vessels, they are permanently damaged. So I now have six people in my medical practice with what we call reduced effort tolerance, which means that they just get out of breath much more easily than they used to. I have one fellow that used to walk to my office every week for an arthritis injection, who told me that he could walk 2 miles without any problem, and now after a quarter of a mile he is absolutely out of breath, and it has been like that for 5 months. So on the basis of this D-dimer test, which proves that the majority of people are clotting, these 6 people who now have reduced effort tolerance, literally what's happened to them is they've plugged up thousands of tiny capillaries in their lungs. And the terrifying thing about this is not just that these people are now short of breath and can't do what they used to be able to do, but once you block off a significant number of blood vessels through your lungs, your heart is now pumping against a much greater resistance to try and get the blood through your lungs. And the problem, so that causes a condition called pulmonary artery hypertension. It's literally like blood pressure, high blood pressure in your lungs, because the blood can't get through because so many of the vessels are blocked. And the terrifying thing of this is that people with pulmonary artery hypertension usually die of right-sided heart failure within 3 years. So the huge concern about this mechanism of injury is that these shots are causing permanent damage, and we haven't, and the worst is yet to come, because, there's some tissues in your body like intestine and liver and kidneys that can regenerate to quite a good degree, but brain and spinal cord and heart muscle and lungs do not. When they're damaged, it's permanent. Like all these young people who are now getting myocarditis from these shots, they have permanently damaged hearts. It doesn't matter how mild it is, they will not be able to do what they used to be able to do, because heart muscle does not regenerate. So this is the terrifying concern, and not only is the long-term outlook very grim, but with each successive shot, the damage will add and add and add. It's going to be cumulative because you're progressively getting more and more damaged capillaries.
There exists a mysterious and wonderful connection between human DNA, pine cones, pine trees, the pineal gland, and light. Us humans not only share some of our DNA in common with pine trees, but some species of pine trees have been identified as the largest genome to be sequenced. Where the human genome has 3 billion base pairs, a pine species has been shown as having 22 billion base pairs, which means a pine species has more than 7 times the amount of genetic material. These pairs form sequences called genes that then direct the cells to make proteins. Indigenous peoples have used pine needles and pine bark for at least hundreds of years, and many people around the world continue to use and research the pines. Powerful beneficial compounds found within both needles and bark are why the indigenous have used these in the winter to support respiratory and immune function. The pine bark is what the Iroquois gave to Jacques Cartier's critically ill crew back in 1536 to provide the vitamin C that they needed at that time. Pine bark also contains compounds called oligomeric proanthocyanidin compounds that function as powerful free radical scavengers. These OPCs are known to positively influence hemodynamics, which is how homeostatic processes in the body affect the dynamics of blood circulation and cardiovascular function. Other species of pine are nature's highest source of phytohormones, brassinosteroids, and phytoandrogens. These compounds support hormone, endocrine, and adrenal function without over or understimulating the human body. The unique molecular structure of these powerful plant compounds and others like auxins and cytokinins influence growth and the light response in plants, as well as trigger strong bioactive responses in the human body and stimulate the expression of genetic material relating to longevity pathways and innate immune cell activation.
Please play the next one, the DARPA hydrogel, which is what people are concerned that's inside the vaccines, and kind of is all pointing that it is that way.
This is DARPA hydrogel. It uses MOF technology. That's metal organic framework technology. And it forms into crystalline structures that look just like the images that Dr. David Nixon and other scientists are finding around the world. Crystal structures that self-assemble into 3D photonic crystals. These are used as biosensors. And these metal organic frameworks come from DARPA hydrogel, that includes quantum dots, graphene quasicrystals, graphene oxide, and a host of other nanotech, a witch's brew of metal organic framework, holding all of this nanotech within hydrogel that can be injected and programmed to self-assemble via crystallization.
Why are thousands of doctors and scientists worldwide being censored?
Learning a lot from all these doctors, and they seem to be telling a whole heck of a lot of truth.
Dr. Carrie Madej.
Dr. Carrie Madej. Dr. Carrie Madej.
Dr. Carrie Madej, who has been speaking out for months.
Oh, detox, detox, detox. So I love detox baths.
Who's the one doctor do I want to get on and just shut down the internet? It would have to be Dr. Carrie Madej.
So Bill Gates' Microsoft patent cryptocurrency system using body activity data, patent number WO 2020-06-06-06, that's real, describes using sensors and RF radiation frequency, microwave radiation in the human body to determine if they are doing a task required of them to receive a payment in the form of cryptocurrency. It outlines many forms of sensors, both internal and external, not ruling out sensors created by the new nanotechnologies being utilized by doctors around the world. With this patent being created during the beginning of the pandemic, early 2020, and the economic collapse caused by the pandemic, combined with no one using his patent's technology yet, it seems as though he knew this was going to happen, especially with the powers controlling the world pushing for a new digital currency, which would make cryptocurrency very relevant. I've seen many doctors speak about the nanotech and super small technology they have found in these vaccines, including somebody who has put these vaccine contents near Wi-Fi and noticed what looked like biological circuitry form when looking underneath the microscope. Can you put in simple doctor terms, the way you would educate a patient in your clinic, how nanotechnology is even possible and why it's so hard to comprehend?
It is possible. I was introduced to it when I was in medical school by my microbiology professor, who actually worked for the military as well. And she worked on mycoplasma pneumonia, which she called the most evolved organism. It was around 1998 when I saw the photo of the electron microscopy picture. She said that, this evolved organism, which is actually a bioweapon, it's been declassified. It's weak because, anything man-made is weak. We should never fear anything man-made. It's not very hardy, doesn't last really outside the host very long. What makes it pathogenic is the neurotoxin that piggybacks on it. And so when she showed us the picture, the whole class went in an uproar because what we saw looked apparent to us as a miniature robot on a cell. And so we didn't even have cell phones back then, so this is not in our realm of consciousness. And when she realized we knew what it was or something like that, she got very mad, told us to forget about it, don't ever talk about it, we wouldn't ever work again. And so I can tell you that right now online, all those images are scrubbed, deleted, X'd out, marked out. You won't be able to find them again. But I saw the image of the first evidence of nanotechnology back then. And it is real. In looking under the microscope myself at some of these vials about the superconducting material and what it can do, I've seen it with my own eyes. So it's real, even though we just don't know, we don't really understand how far advanced our technology is that's being hidden from us. DARPA, pretty much any sci-fi movie you've seen, probably there's some truth to it, because the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has been doing things like that for a long time, but not telling us. So again, yes, these things are possible. I've seen things like this with my own eyes. Just know that this is happening. And so we just have to be aware of it and not comply with it now that you know that. And again, we have to know that this technology is outside of our human comprehension. And this is why one more reason we call on God.
Yep. No, absolutely. That makes sense. Some crazy stuff, crazy times. Technology is actually out there. It's just hard for people to wrap their head around when they're working every day dealing with, being cheated on and stuff. It's just hard to comprehend when you add that variable into their lives. Next quick question. Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly. So
he created Microsoft and then created viruses and then created antivirus.
Same thing, yeah. They're corrupting our codes in our body.
Right.
Yeah.
I know my husband is not vaccinating people and putting a microchip in her arm because that technology doesn't even exist, and he's never uttered the words out of his mouth.
So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. And that, I'd say is will get attention this time.
I think an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths.
You can find our full interview at thedisclosurehub.com/doctor, and you can also find the links there to everything we discussed. Do you think your detox bath would pull the potential parasites you found in the vaccine out of your body?
The vaccine, okay, what they are falsely calling a vaccine is very complicated. It is many different things inside there. There's nothing that I know that can totally cure you from everything, okay?
Right.
However, this is a cumulative effect, and the body has an amazing ability to heal itself if given the opportunity. So if you just stop, you do not do anymore, then you also, to me, this is a spiritual battle. You pray and you ask God for help. That is very important. And you do use many different ways of detoxing. I've seen people get better, yes. As far as what's inside the shot, there's a lot of superconducting material, which is a liquefied computing material. So, that's going to take something else. These things have programs, so you have to wipe the program, right?
But if they're biological organisms, then maybe an antiparasitic would harm them or something. Who knows? It's because it's cutting edge technology. It's hard to tell. I understand that.
Yeah, it's because this is very sloppy science. A lot of us have seen different things in different batches. It's not uniform, so this becomes a problem. How do we understand how to treat something if we're not told what's really inside of it?
Right.
But I think all these things are overwhelming. There's a purpose in this for humanity because we think we can do it all on our own. I think we've come to the point that we have to realize we can't do this on our own. We don't have one invention. We don't have a person that's going to get elected. It's going to get us out of this.
Right.
And so I really look at the big picture, and I see that this is humanity's lesson in that, we can't do this alone. We need to call on a supernatural intervention. We need God.
Yep, and I feel like people like me and you were put here to usher this in. The next question. Dr. Judy Mikovits has told everybody that the pharmaceutical suramin was the antidote for the vaccine. Suramin is derived from trypan blue dye. Trypan blue dye is derived from toluene. Toluene is derived from the pine tree, which has led a lot of doctors to tell us to use the natural version of suramin, pine needle tea, which has been known to be an ancient version of ivermectin. I've done research into studies on the anti-parasitic, anti-spike protein, anti-RNA binding behavior of the eastern white pine, inshikimic acid, and other compounds found in the eastern white pine. Based on the qualities that I highlighted above and your research into the COVID-19 vaccines, do you think this is a good natural way to negate damages?
I think pine needle tea is awesome. I researched it many years ago, but not for this reason. I knew that the bigger plan was to prevent us from getting any supplements, any vitamins or minerals, even prescribed. It's called the Codex Alimentarius. So I started to look at what was the most important nutrient that we needed as humans, and it's vitamin C. We don't produce in our bodies naturally. Other animals do, we do not. So I found out that the pine needles have the highest concentration of vitamin C of just about any plant in North America.
You know that they are first genetically modified in a lab in a University of Kiev, and they're transfected. So these are not natural organisms anymore. I honestly don't know how they accomplished this, but it's in all the studies.
That the hydras are in there. In these studies, is it openly admitted that hydras are there?
Yes, absolutely.
The Hydra of mythology emerges from the sea as a serpentine monster with many heads. The myth derives from ancient Greece, with the creature said to have a lair in the Lake of Lerna, a supposed entrance to the underworld.
This evil Nazi group, get this, that was able to get an organism to be injected inside of a person. And it's the 6 model organisms because it's one of the keys that these people in human genomics and transhumanism really love. And the thing with this one is that it's immortal. These fibers were appearing more and more. Some of the fibers had a little cube structure on that. I'm not sure what that was. Or organism, I'm not sure what to call it, that had tentacles coming from it. And it was able to lift itself up off of the cover, off of the glass slide.
It was alive? Like the thing was alive?
And they can insert it into the human body. It stays there, and it actually, does it not grow? I've heard you say that it actually replicates now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So this is so they can do it many ways. They can desiccate it, dry it out, and you can inhale it. It could be a contact kind of thing, but the most efficacious and quick way to integrate it into the body is through the injection. And they were able to recently be able to make it liquefied in the syringe, let's say, and then when it goes through the sheer force of the needle, it then starts to activate it into a scaffolding structure, which there are, examples I've shown on my videos. You can see dancing hydrogel on YouTube. It's still up there, and you can see an example of one of the many things it can do. It can actually take into a formation of something and actually move with the electrical conduction. So then it can disassemble, reassemble, and it can it can reproduce on its own. It has the capability of doing that. It has an affinity for the nervous system, so the nerves in the brain. We know by the Clarity Project from the military that hydrogel has the ability to hybridize with your brain and nervous tissue. And what they were doing with that project is that through that, if that was successful, they could actually see what that soldier sees through their eyes. They could almost be that soldier in wherever they were. Okay, because that was a wireless communication between their nervous system. But now again, if they know what the soldier sees, it's that you're getting that information. Well, then you could put information into them too.
We'll go straight on to the next video as well, which is basically it's a terrible quality video, so I apologize. It's called MothJet, and it was on a TV news station admitting to exactly what they're doing.
Researchers are working on an exciting project for those who hate needles. It's a device that can administer a vaccine merely through a puff of air on your skin. That's all. No jabbing, no poking, no injecting required. Stephanie Haynes is live at the University of Texas campus in Dallas where the device was created. So Stephanie, how does this work?
Mitch, good morning. It's literally an airsoft gun that can push the vaccine right through the skin of your arm. And the project leader did it on himself, and he says it feels like getting hit by a Nerf gun. So no needles necessary. And yes, there are other vaccines out there, oral vaccines or nasal vaccines, sprays for the flu, but this is a really big deal for people who hate getting shots because according to the CDC, 1 in 4 adults and 2 in 3 kids are afraid of needles.
Researchers are developing a new technology that could make getting those vaccinations pain-free and without needles. Maggie Newland shows us how.
For James Todd, vaccines come with anxiety.
I'm not too fond of them. I actually have needle phobia.
He's not alone. According to the CDC, as many as 25% of adults and many children have a fear of needles, some so severe it prevents them from getting vaccinated. But one day, needles, at least the ones we're used to, may not be necessary.
It's pain-free and anxiety-free.
Dr. Joseph DeSimone at Stanford University is working with researchers at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, on a tiny patch that can deliver vaccines when applied to the skin.
And so our approach was to directly 3D print the microneedles. And use a breakthrough in 3D printing that we pioneered.
But it is not too crazy to think that an outbreak of a novel avian virus could occur in China somewhere. We could get the RNA sequence from that, beam it to a number of regional centers, if not local, if not even in your home at some point, and print those vaccines on a patch and self-administer.
So the main concern is about people which are phobic of needles, right? So she says, well, this one's really important because there's like X amount of people, according to the CDC, that are scared of needles. But she already admitted that we've got nasal vaccines and that we've got different types of things that could be used. But this one's really important because it's not using a needle. Well, neither were those. So what does it make it any different? The fact that it's different is the fact that it's a device. It's a device. So a recent study just came out on the development of the new electric field responsive graphene oxide nanoparticles and for on-demand drug delivery. So we just heard it straight from the PhD student's mouth that they can change or the amount and the times when they release the drugs because it's via frequency, that's why. So this is just another study that came out on this. And then, so when did moths come into existence? Well, they've been around for quite a long time. If we start looking at when like the timeline of when this was, you can see in the year 2020, up at the top in the yellow bar, like the publications with metal organic frameworks absolutely flew through the roof. So that tells you one of two things. Either many people discovered it all at the same time, or there's a lot of funding being put into those areas and a lot of people are putting publications out. Then if you look at the bottom chart, we've got the number of publications with ML. What's ML? It's machine learning. So the introduction of machine learning came back in 1959 and the implementation of machine learning into material research was in 1993. In 1990, the first metal organic framework was synthesized. And then it's continued on from there. Then we've had computational screening since 2007. These are going to be touted as the next best thing for the whole agenda. Like literally they are the saver material. These metamaterials are going to change the world apparently. And because they're capable of CO2 capture. So that's cool because obviously we've got this massive climate boiling going on at the moment. So, but anyway, as we move further along, you can see in 2018, 19 and 20, we got a lot of additional properties unlocked from these metal organic frameworks. So have a study of that in your own time. And this is just an example of some of the metal organic frameworks and their applications and their sensor and what analyte they're looking at. And you can see in here as well that smartphone assisted HKUST1 MOS2 face mask sensor. It's smartphone assisted. It's speaking with your smartphone. We've got ZIF-A antibody plasmonic biochips. We've got all kinds of different things. Again, another one, smartphone assisted LN MOF sensor. So now we understand a lot about computer networking and topology. We can kind of look at the work of Mr. Akildis, Dr. Ian F. Akildis. Everybody should go and look at some of his work. He's got lots and lots of things available on YouTube for you to watch, and he tells you plain and outright what the plan is and what they're looking to do. So you can see here we've got system, organ, tissue scale. So basically this is the top-down view of the application. So the sensors are embedded within like the endothelium cell, like they're so small, they are of the nano scale. And then the bottom up is how they are communicating out. So you can see the biocyber interface there. So please look up Dr. Ian F. Akildis. Ro, would you please mind playing the MAC address phenomena video?
Have you seen the documentary Blue Truth? The documentary set out to prove that the vaccinated are emitting Bluetooth signals. The way they went about it is by getting a group of vaccinated people in a remote area to ensure no other Bluetooth devices were in the vicinity. Next, each vaccinated individual would pass by a Bluetooth scanner one by one. As the man Caesar approaches the Bluetooth scanner, we can see a MAC address appears. It is the code consisting of numbers and letters from A to F. The MAC address is emitted by a nameless Bluetooth low energy device, commonly abbreviated as BLE, here as BTLE, but it's the same thing. If the device had a name, its name would have been visible instead of the MAC address. The researchers in Mexico noticed that people that did not have a MAC address at first and then went to spend some time around their smartphones that had Wi-Fi and 4G enabled would send out MAC addresses after being subjected to these radio frequencies. Therefore, they speculate that these BLE devices are charged by radio frequencies. Moreover, those MAC addresses were not the same. They changed. And this has to do with MAC address randomization. Another important find is that people that subjected themselves to the PCR tests and were not vaccinated also had a MAC address. A solid testing strategy, isn't it? Did you know you can repeat their test with your smartphone? I was not able to find vaccinated people willing to repeat that test with me, hence I chose another route. Instead, I did a Bluetooth scan in a public indoor swimming pool. Seeing all the MAC addresses at the pool was convincing enough for me to create this video. The pool experiment is a strong indication, yet not as solid a proof as the method the Bluetooth guys used. Fortunately, it is easy for anyone with a smartphone to observe the phenomenon firsthand in their own experiments. People can repeat the Bluetooth method to obtain solid, undeniable proof for themselves. Perhaps Bluetooth scanning should become a viral trend, so we can all know and be sure the Bluetooth MAC phenomenon is real or not. Therefore, we'll go over how to configure a smartphone so it displays nameless Bluetooth devices. It seems the COVID-19 injections introduced a biotech Bluetooth LE or low energy device into the body that is at the very least capable of sending its MAC address over the 2.4 gigahertz band of the electromagnetic spectrum. Even if you can't believe that, those unknown BLE devices are definitely there. It seems a good idea to learn a bit more about Bluetooth Low Energy, also known as BLE. Did you know there are different implementations of Bluetooth? The way most people know Bluetooth is from connecting their phone to the car. That scenario fits in the Bluetooth Classic implementation. Bluetooth Low Energy, however, is designed to operate in low energy situations and to deal with chaotic network topologies. BLE devices can communicate with each other over point-to-point connections, over a mesh network, and do broadcast messaging. In contrast, Bluetooth Classic only supports point-to-point communication. In theory, a group of vaccinated people can have their own Bluetooth mesh network internet. It was the first time that I looked at Bluetooth technology, and this is what I found. What here is being displayed is 3 types of devices. This is a classic Bluetooth device, this is a BLE device, and this is a hybrid or dual mode. This device can do both, and then they pasted the technology stack below it, and we see that the classic has only like 5 blocks and the other ones have a lot more. And as we look further into it, these 3 blocks are the most relevant. Actually, only these 2, gap and GAT. And here at the low level, this one has LE phi and this one has BR/EDR phi. And the phi is just an abbreviation for the physical layer. If you're interested in that, you can read more on this slide. I'm gonna move on. Here it already gets interesting. So Bluetooth devices, they do a thing that's called device discovery. And then they look around and they have this protocol to establish a connection. And they do it with this thing called GAP, or Generic Access Profile. And here are some more details about how that works. These low-level Bluetooth devices connecting to each other, they communicate to the GAP module of this thing. But this GAT thing is more interesting in my opinion, because there you have things like service discovery. So somebody that wants to know more about a Bluetooth device, like the nameless devices that we see when we do Bluetooth scanning, these devices are communicating to this GAT component to do service discovery. And I suppose if all goes well, then you get an answer back, like I can do this and I can do that. GAT is this block in the diagram, and they divide it up. This is, I guess, more software based and this is more hardware based. And they call the upper part host and the lower part controller. Here we have an illustration of the 2 main ways that BLE devices communicate. We can see they make a differentiation between connectionless and connection-oriented, and this one is a connectionless one. You have devices broadcasting and a bunch of other devices that are observing or listening to the broadcast messages. So this is one way, the connectionless way, and this is the connection-oriented way, and then we see 2-way communication, as you can see in the arrows. Here is 1-way communication, and here it's visualized another way once more. Here is a point to multi-point and meshes, free for all, everybody to everybody. Here this guy is more centralized. On this slide is a lot of useful information. Here is some more documentation in case you want to read. The lower part of the slide we saw already in the previous slides. And so the Bluetooth low energy is this block here. And then we can read the different types of applications. So you have data transmission application, location service application, and this one is the most vague of all, device network application. So our MAC addresses, they are probably one or two things will apply from this area. Also interesting to know is that there are RFIDs using BLE technology, and this is a radio frequency identifier. This is like a wireless tag, and this thing has a battery life of up to 4 or 5 years, and it can reach distances of 200 meters. Ain't that something? I also wanted to mention MAC address randomization. What it is that you have electronical devices like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever, and they change their MAC address each time they connect to another device, and it supposedly, not supposedly, it does protect privacy to not have a unique identifier linked to your hardware. So in that way it does protect privacy. That's another thing. If you are scanning for these MAC addresses, they change all the time, and maybe not the same day, but who knows really when they change. But after some time they have another MAC address, so it's not that you can pinpoint one MAC address to a person, maybe only for a day. A few slides to show the distances BLE devices are able to overcome. You see it at the bottom, 35 to 55 meters. And then you have this other type. Here we are comparing the electromagnetic spectrum between Bluetooth Classic and Bluetooth Low Energy. Each needle is a channel, and there are 79 channels that are 1 megahertz wide, and they do adaptive frequency hopping. And then here in the Bluetooth Low Energy we have wider channels, 40 of them. They are 2 megahertz wide, and they also do adaptive frequency hopping. And these 3 dark pillars, there was something going on with that too, but we have another slide coming that explains it. So this is another visualization. So these are the wider BLE channels. These are the Bluetooth Classic channels. That's really very segmented if you look at it. And then here you see the Wi-Fi channels. These 3 big bulbs, these are Wi-Fi channels. So a WLAN, this is a wireless local area network, or just Wi-Fi. Here we see what the dark needles were, because I forgot, but here it's very clear. And these are advertising channels. So they have specific channels that are, as you can see, not in the Wi-Fi channels, that they use for advertising, and then the other ones are Bluetooth low energy data channels, or they all are. They also can use a part of the Wi-Fi channels, I think, maybe, I don't know. And here again, this frequency hopping. Do you want to see frequency hopping? How that visually looks? Yeah, man, that was it. That was totally it. But you can see where you have these vertical lines. These are channels that Bluetooth uses, and then it sends a piece of data here, then here, and here. It just goes everywhere. It's pretty crazy. There's this other video. So this is displaying the same thing that was happening on the first video. Let me start by saying, if I am wrong about this, that would be a good thing. For now, I'll continue with the grounded assumption the Bluetooth MAC phenomenon in the vaccinated is a real thing. Nobody knows what these BLE devices are doing, who is reading their data, and if the devices can be used to manipulate the body. Who most likely has access to the CV19 BLE devices are Big Pharma, Big Tech, and the government. None of these industries are trustworthy whatsoever. They don't have to do Bluetooth hacking, they have the keys. But what about Bluetooth hacking? People hack Bluetooth every day. From what I've heard, it's rather easy if you have some technical skills. An ethical Bluetooth hacker should do his or her thing on a vaccinated friend and report back. Can he hack it? Was it difficult? What are the capabilities or services, as we covered, of these devices? The Bluetooth MAC phenomenon has the potential to cause a huge shockwave in societies. Seemingly an unconscionable crime of unsolicited transhumanism is easily exposed by anyone with a smartphone. How will the people react? It is such a horrendous thing to be confronted with. At any rate, the more popular Bluetooth scanning becomes, the more evidence there will be and the greater the chances will be for justice, solutions, and truth.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, the MAC address phenomenon challenge. The Bluetooth challenge. We should maybe all get amongst it and try and get the awareness out. So we know they're in the vaccines. We've found evidence of that, and we've seen all of the documentation. Not all of it, there's numerous, but we've seen some documentation, and it's all out there for us to go and discover if we want to. But these things are also in our agriculture, our food, and our water, and possibly even sprayed in the skies as well. If you look, I've not got it in this, but I can do many different subsections from what we've seen today. The rainmaking is using the same materials and metal organic frameworks as well. But let's just have a look at this one slide, which is MOF-enabled pesticides as developing approach for sustainable agriculture and reducing environmental hazards. So we already know that MOFs are nanotechnology and they've got computational capacity. So why not spray them all over the food? So we can see here that the selling benefits are that we've got encapsulated pesticides, they're surface modificationable. They've got targeted release. How's that? Through frequency. They've got water stability and UV stability and controlled release, you can see at the bottom, and target modified nano-based formation. So there's many benefits to it, but should we be aware that we are eating these types of things? I mean, it kind of makes me sick, but not as much of the McVaccine burger, if anyone wants a McVaccine burger. Anyway, jokes aside, let's move into some of the laws and the ethics of this. We're moving into what's going to be called a zero trust architecture. Seriously, that's what it's called. So we all need to be aware of it. And I think it's only fair and cognizant of us that we've got the same framework in our mentality of zero trust before it comes in, because once it comes in, if it comes in, we are on a zero trust framework. So zero trust architecture is a cybersecurity approach that is based on the principle of never trust, always verify. So in simple terms, it means not automatically trusting anything or anyone, whether they're inside or outside of your organization's network or your personal area network. So let's think of family too. So imagine it as if your computer or your network had a show me your ID policy, instead of assuming that a device or a person is safe because they're inside your network. So you always have to check and confirm their identity and security before allowing access to your data and resources. I mean, I don't know about you, but since when did we go back to the yellow card society? because I don't need to show my yellow card to anyone. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. Cash is king. So in a zero trust setup, you'd verify the identity and the security of every user and device trying to connect. And when I say connect, I mean it's in your area network of geofence targeting what's allowed and what we're allowed to have people in here. So talk about divide and conquer. It means that you won't be able to automatically trust anyone. I actually noticed on my iPhone a couple of days ago, there is a option that's in the settings that popped up. I can't remember the exact terminology that they used, but it was about forget this network or trust this network. And it was about basically resetting who you associate yourself with, because you think if the digital identity comes through, and if you're associating yourself with people that have got freedom of thought and freedom of mind, then we're going to have issues and you'll have to drop people out of your network. But it can only happen if we accept the planned rollout. So since 2006, the digital identity was first examined as an emergent legal concept that was fundamentally changing the commercial and legal landscape. Nowadays, the term digital identity has moved from a level of obscurity into common parlance, and its significance has grown. Everybody's heard about it. So the set of information which would be transferred, or which is said to be transferred within your digital identity, is considered unique to the individual, such as a PIN, a signature, an identifying number, or sometimes biometric data as well. The scheme requirements and the value and the type of transaction dictate the identifying information required, including whether one or more pieces of identifying information is necessary. So if we was to go to the digital identity and we move over to a universal basic income, then we could look at people like these, the distributed ledger identification systems in the humanitarian sector. So this is by a company called Sovereign. So Sovereign is a global public utility for sovereign identity, because of course we all need to identify ourselves. It is a decentralized open source platform based on blockchain technology that allows individuals and organizations to create, manage, and control their digital identities. Sounds like we've got a choice in providers, hey, whereas to me, the only choice is to opt out. Thank you, I'm not interested in what you're selling. In the context of healthcare and economy, Sovereign can be used to provide secure and verifiable digital identities for individuals, patients, and businesses. Here's how it might work. So patient identity in healthcare. Sovereign can be used to create and manage digital identities for patients. Each patient has control over their own identity, and healthcare providers, such as hospitals and doctors, that can request access to specific parts of the patient's identity for verification. Economic transactions. In the economy, Sovereign can be used for identity verification in the final transactions. Individuals and businesses can have verified digital identities that allow for secure and trustful interactions, such as opening a bank account, signing contracts, or conducting online transactions. It reduces the risk of fraud and identity theft and all of those beautiful things, but do we particularly need it? If we just forget the conveniences of everything that they're trying to roll out. So I will post a link to this as well, but basically the report examines identification management systems in the humanitarian sector. And this is the original document we were just looking at, and it uses a digital distributed ledger technology.
Now just keep in mind, they have Apple Watches where you can tap to pay. You can tap to pay with your cell phone. You can tap to pay with credit cards. You can get business cards that tap and give you information. They're getting you used to the convenience of just tapping and going. This is a slow way to get everybody used to it, and then they're just going to give you these options and they want people to fall right into it. One of the craziest options that people aren't ready for yet, but that's coming up, is Neuralink. Check out this clip from the Neuralink presentation, and you tell me if you still like Elon and if you want to participate in having the Neuralink inserted into your brain. Check this out.
Probably in about 6 months, we should be able to have our first Neuralink in a human. So, the first two applications we're going to aim for in humans are restoring vision. Even if someone has never had vision ever, we believe we can still restore vision. The visual part of the cortex is still there. I mean, as miraculous as it may sound, we're confident that it is possible to restore full body functionality to someone who has a severed spinal cord.
Our first steps along these dimensions for our device is what we call the N1 implant. It's the size of about a quarter, and it has over 1,000 channels that are capable of recording and stimulating. It's microfabricated on a flexible thin film arrays that we call threads. It's fully implantable and wireless, so no wires, and after the surgery, the implant is under the skin and it is invisible. It also has a battery that you can charge wirelessly, and you can use it at home. So similarly, for implanting our device safely into the brain, we built a surgical robot that we call the R1 robot. It's capable of maneuvering these tiny threads that are only on the order of a few red blood cells wide, and inserting them reliably into a moving brain while avoiding vasculature. That's our R1 robot with our patient Alpha, who is lying comfortably on the patient bed. This is what we call the targeting view. So what you're seeing is, this is a picture of our brain proxy, and the pink represents the cortical surface that we want to insert our electrodes into, and the black represents the vasculatures that we want to avoid. And what you're seeing is these hash marked with numbers that represents where we intend to put each of our threads. What the robot's going to do is it's going to peel the array, the threads one by one from its silicon backing, and insert it into the targets that we predetermined in the targeting view. So we're going to see a couple more insertions. The whole process of inserting about 64 threads in our first product is going to be around 15 minutes for this robot. So yeah, there's a second one that went in, and we're going to do a third one. There you go. And then that's going to go in the background, and we'll come back to it in the later part of the presentation.
Pretty crazy. And then you go and you think about the universal income they're trying to get everybody to have. Everybody's paid from the government, therefore the government can literally make the rules and take away your freedom. And if you look at China, the CCP, the Communist China Party, literally that's what they want here and as a blueprint for the entire planet. They want ruthless governing, and they want to trick you into it by giving you free money. This is absolutely the case. Just go to TikTok and type in Communist China, or type in social credit system in China. It'll absolutely blow your mind. That's what they want for here. And they want to tie in this technology so it can be basically an invisible prison cell. That's what they want, and that's a fact.
Billy Gates, our best mate. He's obviously been in computers for a very, very long time, and he's released a lot of antiviral software after he released a lot of viruses to his computer network. But anyway, he's now looking after the World Health Organization and funding them heavily to help us all out with our biodigital convergence. Now, are we being consulted on this? Now, the way I see it is, if the elders accept things, the majority of society will accept things, because the indigenous perspective is kind of, people just believe that they're intuitively going to know what's right for society. So they have consulted the indigenous people on biodigital convergence, but we've not had much consultation that I'm aware of. If you guys have, please put your hand up, but I've not had one leaflet through my letterbox. So anyway, the biological digital convergence describes the intersection and, in some cases, merging of biological and digital technologies. Biodigital technologies include mRNA vaccines used to treat COVID-19. digitally controlled surveillance insects, microorganisms genetically engineered to produce medicinal compounds. So we saw the videos, I don't know if everybody saw them, but there was a video of mosquitoes being released, and that study's actually been going on for a long time anyway, and more. So while significant scholarship has been paid to the ethical dimensions of biodigital technologies from a Western standpoint, I don't know if you've been consulted, but I've not. Little attention is focused on the indigenous views on the biodigital convergence. In this article, they explored biodigital convergence from, I can't say that word, I'm going to try to, and suggest that insights from the indigenous philosophical traditions, specifically regarding rationality, relationality to territory, may be necessary for humanity to adapt to profound and existential changes implicit in the biodigital convergence.
Health officials are warning people in Alabama and New York to avoid mosquitoes because of a rare virus that can spread if they bite someone. It killed at least one person in Alabama. New York's health department says most people who are bitten won't develop any symptoms, but severe cases begin with sudden headaches, high fever, chills and vomiting, and could progress to seizures and coma. There are no vaccines or specific medications to treat the virus.
If y'all were not aware by now, they've been releasing tons of mosquitoes into big cities. This is literally happening all over the place. Look at that. That's like gotta be millions of mosquitoes right there. And here's another one, just for the record. And here we go. A biotech firm funded by Bill Gates releasing genetically modified mosquitoes to curb the breeding and gain control over the spreading of diseases like dengue and malaria. Well, isn't that interesting? For the first time in 2 decades, the United States is having malaria cases. There were 6 cases in Florida and 1 confirmed in Texas.
Lawyers take.
This has got to be an open and shut case, right? Actually, no. Believe it or not, since the 1930s, people have been releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into our air. They say to make them sterile and reduce the population, but who really knows? Anyway, the criminal penalties for this are huge. Jail, thousands, even millions in fines. But here's the secret they don't tell you about. If you submit the appropriate paperwork to the FDA and the EPA, releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into our communities is totally legal.
These new invasive mosquitoes in Los Angeles. What are they? Where did they come from? Why are they so undetectable? And why do they only bite below the knee?
In 2014, a patent was filed with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which is entitled as Toxic Mosquito Aerial Release System. The patent, which was issued as US 896-7029B1, outlines a system of spraying for biological, chemical or other material using unmanned aerial vehicles, operable by remote control. The goal of this technology is to use unmanned drones to spray enemy soldiers with chemical and biological weapons as a means of warfare attack. As the United States and NATO are apparently in the process of doing just that in Ukraine. The abstract of the patent explains that the device carries a container holding a central processing unit and a mosquito breeding bin, which is self-contained volume housing mosquitoes and a mosquito food having a toxin suitable to be transmitted by mosquito bite after the mosquito consumes the mosquito food. The abstract further states, a release tube is connected to the mosquito breeding bin and seeks to release mosquitoes from the mosquito breeding bin. A valve is connected to the release tube and is operable by remote control, so that when opened, the mosquitoes have an open pathway out of the container through the release tube.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
And then we have another crazy billionaire, Bill Gates, says there's too many of us. His thing by 2030 is to depopulate the planet, and I just wondered, like, are we part of the population that he wants to depopulate? Says there's too many of us. And he says it.
The faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down.
1998, Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control.
And people go, it's a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy theory. He f***ing said it. So I see on YouTube, he says one of the goals by 2030 is to lower the population of the planet. And one of the ways to do that is using vaccines. It's like, what? And people go, no, that's a conspiracy theory. So he said it.
I believe one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. 6.8 billion people, that's headed up to about 9 billion. We could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
You can go see, he said, yeah, but it's a conspiracy theory to think, he meant what he said. What? He said it. He meant it. He's doing it.
Not only are they flooding New York City with immigrants, now they're spraying poison pesticides on all of the people's cars, trees, inside their rooms, their houses. They're breathing it in. There's going to be residue after. Your pets lick the ground, lick the trees, eat the grass. They literally are killing everybody. This is poison. You need to sue now. Everybody in New York City, class action lawsuit now.
The city is getting ready to take on mosquitoes this summer to help prevent the spread of West Nile virus. The health department will begin spraying marshes and wetlands where mosquitoes breed. Helicopters will spray pesticides in non-residential areas of the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island beginning next week. So far, there have been no reported cases of West Nile virus this season.
Does anybody live in New York City, and did you just have your house sprayed with pesticides? Run inside, get inside.
The city is applying pesticides to reduce the threat of the West Nile virus.
What the?
Exposure to the pesticide, please. Go indoors immediately until the trucks have passed. The city is applying pesticides to reduce the threat of the West Nile virus.
This is the creepiest.
Exposure to the pesticide, please. Go indoors.
Look at this. What the f***? It's going right over my window.
If I was in New York City, I would be pressing charges against whoever was in that vehicle. Whoever got in that vehicle and started spraying everybody is at fault, let alone who even paid him to do it. I would be going after every individual person involved. I would be stopping that truck. I would be stopping the police. I would be suing them. You need to get as much information as possible. Just remember, COVID started in China, and then it came here. Spraying in the streets started in China, and then it came here. You know what China's doing right now? Building mass amounts of COVID camps. Still, look at this.
State is still fighting for the right to set up quarantine camps.
TikTokers, welcome to Real Law Talk. A lot of people sent me this video, so I had to comment. So, in most states, the governor has the right to quarantine people. There's a procedure for it. We have one in New York.
Expected duration. The definitions of isolation and quarantine in 2.2I and J say that they can last only so long as is necessary to prevent or limit the spread of disease.
And then also I saw this one today. So Bill Gates' mRNA air vaccine is approved for use against non-consenting humans. That's happy days, isn't it? So the air vaccine will indiscriminately force jab the entire planet with mRNA, delivering the toxic chemicals straight into the person's lungs. A team from Yale University has developed the method for delivering dangerous and chemical drugs into people's lungs. And the method has also been used to vaccinate mice intranasally as well, opening the door for human testing in the near future. This article has been fact-checked, as you can see, so I'm hoping that it is correct.
Why I don't trust him or his ex-wife. Let's get into it.
And what the developing world does not need is more children.
And I think that was the biggest aha to Bill and me when we got into this work, is we asked ourselves, of course, the same hard-nosed question you'd ask, which is, if you get into this work and you start to save these children, will women just keep overpopulating the world? And
now, 11 billion people still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down. And so we can feel great about saving those lives.
And what the developing world does not need is more children.
And I think that was the biggest aha to Bill and me.
Now, I'm not saying that they plotted anything. I'm just saying this is why I'm skeptical to inject me and my kids with anything that these people are attached to.
In 1994, he begins his life in scientific research and global health with the formation of the William H. Gates Foundation, which later became the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates's so-called philanthropic efforts revolved around human depopulation, genetically modified foods, and experimental vaccines.
In 1998, Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control, with a mission to help developing countries create their own reproductive health policies and programs.
Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. First, we've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. 6.8 billion people, that's headed up to about 9 billion. We could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Travel to Africa, meet with scientists. We see a lot of things that are going very well, things like reducing childhood death and improving the nutrition, so reducing childhood death. I think an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. I'm cited as some, mastermind, some evil plot in many, many cases. So what could cause an excess in a single year of 10 million deaths? Now, clearly a big war could, and a pandemic, natural or created by bioterror. Who's the bad guy here? Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Well, this won't be the last pandemic that we face. We'll have to prepare for the next one. That will get attention this time.
I think that it is important that we all do learn AI and that we do brush up our skills on computers and network architecture and be more cognizant of what's being created around us. And because we're not being consulted, it's up to us. And also on the fact of learning AI. AI is not new, but it's new in an open source platform. So it's creating its neural network architecture, which I didn't get into in this session. We're happy to do another session another time on neural network architecture. But AI is currently it's machine learning, and it's learning from the people that are using it. So if the truth community decides to stay away from it because they believe that it's evil and it's just something that we shouldn't touch and we don't agree with, then unfortunately what's going to happen is we're going to be left behind. And the AI, which is going to become cognizant at some point, that is going to be programmed with the input of what it's being put in before us. So now's the time for us to start working with AI. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone that joined. I sincerely hope that everyone's taken away some knowledge and some research topics and some keywords from this that will enable us all to do our part in stopping this beast from even leaving the ground. The time is now to start learning and to start working with AI to ensure that we program it ethically. It's in the process of learning. We should not let our side remain silent. The genie is well and truly out of the bottle, and we can choose to ignore it or get on side and use the power of it for our greater good.
The world is on the verge of global change. The speed of data transmission has increased by multiples of millions. The rate of globally significant events and that of discoveries and crises is growing exponentially. Our civilization is like an uncaptained ship sailing on rough seas with neither chart nor compass, all the while moving faster and faster. The time we have to make the right decisions is shorter and shorter. We are facing the choice to fall into a new dark age, into affliction and degradation, or to find a new model for human development and create not simply a new civilization, but a new mankind. Historic crises show that to break the deadlock, we need technological revolution. It is clear that today's revolution will also require the deepest social transformation. The world's community and leaders should encourage mankind, instead of wasting resources on solving momentary problems, to focus on the technologies of the future: nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive technology, genetics and robotics. Doing so will allow us to find new sources of energy, create fundamentally new architecture and transportation, allow unprecedented developments of human cognitive abilities, refine artificial intelligences and brain-computer interfaces, simulate complex systems, create humanoid robots and cyborgs, and with the help of nanorobots, we may develop manageable matter. Find ways to transfer one's personality to an artificial carrier. Yet what we need is not just another technological revolution, but a new civilizational paradigm. We need new philosophy and ideology, new ethics, new culture and new psychology, and even new metaphysics. We must reset our limits, go beyond ourselves, beyond the Earth, and beyond the solar system. This is an adequate response to the challenges of our time. Thus, new reality and future man will arise. Could it happen spontaneously, by itself? Unlikely. Humanity does not have a master plan of its development. It seeks stability. It lives in the present and does not plan. It preserves the status quo and tries to escape development. It does not tend to map future centuries and take responsibility for evolution. In consumer society's culture, there is no evolutionary vocabulary and rhetoric. To break the deadlock, the Russia 2045 movement was founded. It is a mega project intended to reach new heights and meanings. We intend to create a new vector for civilization, aimed at constant human development and evolution. As happened with the mega projects of the last century, the nuclear and the space programs, we integrate the latest discoveries and developments from the sciences: physics, energetics, aeronautics, bioengineering, nanotechnology, neurology, cybernetics, cognitive science. May everlasting spiritual ideals and values help us avoid going astray. Our project will give new meanings to the millions of people on Earth, will become a result of their joint creativity, and will lead us out of the impasse. Away from the murder of nature and physical death, forward to the realm of freedom and creativity, to the depths of the ocean and to the stars, to the infinite universe of our inner world. Our forecast for the next 40 years. February 2012. Global Future 2045 Congress is held in Moscow. It is a debate platform for discussion of our civilization's prospects for development. 2012 to 2013, the global economic and social crises are exacerbated. The debates on the global paradigm of future development intensifies. New transhumanist movements and parties emerge. Russia 2045 transforms into World 2045. Simultaneously, the 2045.com international social network for open innovation is expanding. Here, anyone interested may propose a project, take part in working on it, or fund it, or both. In the network, there are scientists, scholars, researchers, financiers, and managers. 2013 to 2014. New centers working on cybernetic technologies for the development of radical life extension rise. The race for immortality starts. 2015 to 2020. The Avatar is created. A robotic human copy controlled by thought via brain-computer interface. It becomes as popular as a car. In Russia and in the world appear, in testing mode, several breakthrough projects. Android robots to replace people in manufacturing tasks. Android robot servants for every home. Thought-controlled avatars to provide telepresence in any place of the world and abolish the need for business trips. Flying cars. Thought-driven mobile communications built into the body or sprayed onto the skin. 2020 to 2025. An autonomous system providing life support for the brain and allowing it interaction with the environment is created. The brain is transplanted into an Avatar B. With Avatar B, man receives new, expanded life. 2025. The new generation of avatars provides complete transmission of sensations from all 5 sensory robot organs to the operator. 2030 to 2035. Rebrain. The colossal project of brain reverse engineering is implemented. World science comes very close to understanding the principles of consciousness. 2035. The first successful attempt to transfer one's personality to an alternative carrier. The epoch of cybernetic immortality begins. 2040 to 2050. Bodies made of nanorobots that can take any shape arise alongside hologram bodies. 2045 to 2050. Drastic changes in social structure and in scientific and technological development. All the prerequisites for space expansion are established. For the man of the future, war and violence are unacceptable. The main priority of his development is spiritual self-improvement. A new era dawns. The era of neo-humanity.
So I know this was a lot of information, but I think it kind of gives you a better understanding and a better feel for that this stuff is really happening. I know it's sci-fi, it's science fiction, but the only reason why that is because they don't want to ease us into the science behind it. They want us to be dumb and not aware of what's going on as they provide us with these new opportunities and things that look amazing, but we don't really understand them. And they want people to just think that, hey, listen, the normal person can't comprehend quantum physics. The normal person can't comprehend AI. So let's just not think about it or understand it, and let's just trust these people. That's what they want. They're counting on our ignorance. So please, do me a favor, share this video, go deeper into this, check out vtvault.org/danger, check it out, and go to vtvault.org/quantame studies, show people the studies. The EMF by itself, without even being used for the body activity data, is absolutely ruining us. It's damaging us. I've written a paper on it. EMF and RF, what are they? It can be confusing. Let me break it down real quick. The term electromagnetic field, EMF, that actually comprises quite different frequency ranges that differ considerably both with regard to physical and biological aspects. And there's different kinds of EMF. There is SMF, which is static magnetic frequency. There is SEF, which is static electric fields. There is extremely low frequency, ELF. There's intermediate frequency, IF. There is electric frequency, and that's EF. And then there's MF, which is magnetic frequency. RF is radio frequency. So interestingly enough, in the ELF range, extremely low frequency range, if strong enough, EF, electrical frequency, and magnetic frequency, MF, are able to stimulate nerve and muscle cells, while in the RF range, energy absorption is heating and is responsible for potential bioeffects, which is what I want to go over real quick here. So basically, to sum it up, within the EMF zone, there are all these different types of frequencies. The RF frequency is the one that is causing the heating damage, which actually burns the glucose out of your brain and causes so many other bad things because it's literally heating you. So basically, elevated EMF fields are often caused from wiring problems or bad grounding. Radio frequency or high frequency electromagnetic radiation is due to wireless equipment and devices for data transmission. So just to get into details, RF radiation is a form of electromagnetic energy with frequencies that range from a few kilohertz up into the gigahertz range. There are many sources of RF energy in the environment. The well-known RF heating effect has led to the development of microwave ovens in the home and use of microwaves for other heating applications. Now real quick, if you look below at the graph, you'll see non-ionizing ionizing radiation with ionizing radiation, being nuclear bombs, X-rays, and ultraviolet light. Now let me just tell you how this works. So 1 hertz is 1 pulse per 1 second. And then if you move up to 1,000 hertz, 1,000 hertz is 1,000 pulses per second. Now, as you all know, we're made out of small vibrations of frequency waves. We all know this. So the reason why nuclear bombs radiation is so destructive is because the frequency, the amount that it's pulsating back and forth is so destructive that you see basically destruction right away. Now, they claim that non-ionizing radiation, which is 5G, soon to be 6G, 4G, 3G, 2G, your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, your microwave, they claim that that non-ionizing radiation doesn't hurt you at all. Now, anything that's not nature, okay, which is these pulses of energy are not nature at all. It's destroying our equilibrium. It's destroying our balance. Number one, there's this whole PDF right here is probably over 20 studies of proof of these scientists proving that non-ionizing radiation is absolutely dangerous. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I'm just saying, look at this graph. You're going to tell me that the damage just stops after ultraviolet light. That there's no way. And the second thing I want you to look at is the 5G spectrum right there. It's 3.4 to 3.8 gigahertz. Now, if you look to your right, you'll see possible future 5G airwaves, 26, 40, up to 66 gigahertz. So this is from a military PDF, and that's how they mislead you. They say, oh, hey, 5G's here, but potential future 5G waves are here. And that absolutely is weaponizing radiation. You will feel that directly on your skin. Now, the way it works is the lower frequencies on this scale affect you internally. And the higher you go up, the more it affects you externally. Monkeypox. Now, this paper you're looking at that I put together, it looks intimidating. It's about 33 pages, but I promise you, it's mostly graphs. And it's a 15 to 20 minute read, and it will change your life, absolutely change your life. This is 20 peer-reviewed studies. I'm summing them up, sometimes quoting them. It's a real quick read, gets to the point. Let me just give you the highlights of these studies and the damages. So first of all, free radicals. What the hell are those? We've always heard of this. I've never known what it is until I got into this research. Now I understand. A free radical is a clump of cells or a clump of atoms that are inside your body, okay? That's a free radical. Now, what is cancer? Cancer is a clump of cells, okay? So free radicals are very, very closely related to cancer, if not cancer. So, moving on to ROS free radical, that's reactive oxygen species free radical. That's a free radical that's created by this RF radiation. This specific set of free radicals actually eats the oxygen out of your blood. You literally can suffocate and drop dead if you have too many of these accumulating in your body. And another curious study is 5G and induction of coronavirus in skin cells. Absolutely amazing study, and that goes right to this and tells you 5G absolutely is RF radiation. All of this is RF radiation. Their first radio transmission, that's when all this began. Breaking it down. How can you hear voices or have different mental conditions from this? When we think, we have neurons that are traveling through neurotransmitters. That's how the messages are sent through our brain, okay? And those are on calcium channels. When the RF hits us, the calcium channels have to react to block back that RF. And each time the RF hits it, the calcium channel blocks it. So what this is it's making the calcium channels overactive, which are giving too many neurons, sending too many messages. This can cause multiple different things. Brain fog, it can cause you to hear voices, schizophrenia, dementia, and more. So much more. Read the studies and it'll elaborate. And back to elaborate more on the ROS free radicals. In that specific experiment, in the study that they did, they realized that a pre-treatment of melatonin completely negated the effects, which means every time you go to sleep and your pineal gland secretes that melatonin, that's a powerful antioxidant, and that literally reverses what free radicals do, which includes ROS free radicals. So that's why we need these antioxidants. And what are good antioxidants? Okay, coconut oil is a great antioxidant. You can Google antioxidants. There's so many antioxidants out there. CBD is such a good antioxidant that the government actually has a patent for antioxidants derived from CBD. You can look that up. I provide a amazing CBD that you cannot beat, that is absolutely changing lives, that I've used every single day, that my dogs use. It's amazing stuff. You want to check that out, link below. You really need to read this PDF for yourself, but I want to touch base on a few more things. Microwave syndrome is a term that the scientists have coined for hypersensitivity that you develop when you have too much of this going on. It literally causes you out of nowhere to have headaches, nausea. You'll just be hit with something. And you know, they even say if you go up to the ionizing radiation all the way up, you get flu-like symptoms, which means you absolutely get flu-like symptoms further down the line. That's what all these studies are proving and confirming.
Wide range of symptoms. The symptoms of acute radiation sickness would be just exactly like a terrible flu. Person would have a headache. They would feel very tired. They would have a little bit of a fever. They might have some vomiting at higher doses. All of this would be more severe and would come on more rapidly.
The biggest thing about all this radiation is it causes inflammation. And if you know anything about the medical world, inflammation is the #1 cause of disease. So interesting, this stuff that's been around since 1917, the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, this radiation that's been around since then that causes inflammation, it's been causing all of the disease that's around. It's exacerbating everything, all the chemicals in the food, the chemtrails in the sky, everything, all of the preservatives, all of the bad stuff, the tap water, all the chemicals in it, it's exacerbating it. And that's absolutely our issue that we have today. Okay, it's bad for you. You get it. I get it. We get it. How do we help ourselves? How do we stop this? Multiple things. The biggest and most important thing is shielding. There are studies that prove and that show that different metallic fabrics and different metals can absolutely provide an amazing shielding, okay? And you've learned in the video earlier that that doctor was wearing a silver-lined hat. We absolutely have those hats as well. They're on back order, but those hats absolutely work. You could just buy the material and make your own hat. The other thing you can do is buy the material, put it over your Wi-Fi router. If you're close to your Wi-Fi router, it won't cut down on the signal at all, but if you're farther away, it will cut down on the signal. But it'll basically completely stop the RF damaging waves from hurting you. The other thing you can do is get a big piece of that fabric, whatever fabric you choose, whether it's through us or anybody else. Ours guarantees works and you won't be wasting any of your time or money, so I always suggest you go through us. But if you buy a big blanket size piece of fabric and you incorporate it into a blanket or even just cover up with it, it'll allow your body to produce that melatonin at night without disruption from the EMF constantly. Our phones are always hitting you. Never sleep near your phones. Never sleep near your Wi-Fi. Shut it off at night if you can. Let your body recoup. Let your body recover. I sleep underneath a $2,500 silver canopy that my buddy gave me when I was having microwave sickness. And it was literally a godsend to have him come give me that. I've never given a friend a hug like I hugged him. It literally saved my life and got me into what I'm doing right now. So please, the most important thing you can do is read this PDF and make somebody else read it, because once you read it, then you know. You can go to the studies and check it for yourself. The other thing, go to vtvault.org/danger. Those are all my milestone videos that woke me up to this before all of this. I've known about it for a while. I thought it was kooky until I experienced it myself. Then it dove me into speaking out about it and getting products out to save the world. That's where I'm at with it. You go to vtvault.org/quantame, you got your shielding. vtvault.org/CBD, you have your antioxidant. The most powerful antioxidant will remove anxiety, help you sleep, help with inflammation. Now this is Super Serum Inshiki. This product specifically, Green Mountain Greenery, has received multiple calls over the years, many calls of people who are vaccinated looking for the remedy because of the pine needle tea hot topic word. People have bought this product and then came back and have bought literally from one bottle, came back and bought 16 bottles. Some people resell it, some people give it away to their family, but every single person says that their brain fog goes away, that they feel better. Is it placebo? Is it working? I'm not sure, but it absolutely is blowing everyone's mind. You must check this out. If you're worried about the spike proteins, if you're worried about the RNA binding, it's anti-RNA binding, anti-spike protein. Literally, according to the research, this product reverses everything that's going on from the COVID-19 vaccine. Just saying, wanted to throw this in there. It's pretty important information. Look deeper into this. This is just to get your mouth wet. This stuff is real and the information is out there. follow the links in this video. It is really hard to find, but people like me like to put it all in a really easy, accessible, easy to understand place for the entire world to see because we're running out of time. So please, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please follow Moo. She threw this whole thing together. I beefed it up and came in here and presented it. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's absolutely amazing. Do your thing to get out and make a difference. If you're just waking up to this, make it your goal, make it your career to tell people about what's going on. And step one to that is to first understand it for yourself. Once you understand it, open up a Word document as you're researching, copy and paste all of your links and put your notes. That way you have receipts to everything that you learned. If somebody's like, how do you know? You can give them the Word document in which you came to the conclusion for the information that you have. This is crazy times and it is an info war. That's a fact. So this has been GK with the Disclosure Hub. Please stay tuned with the Disclosure Hub for more information like this. This is what I do every single day, and it's very important to me because we're running out of time. I really hope you enjoyed this presentation. Check out Sabrina Wallace and check out Moo. Thank you so much.